This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we are watching the best movies ever made sometimes, and then sometimes we go off script to watch movies that are in theaters that look cool to us. This week we are watching the new Robert Eggers movie, Nosferatu. We've seen all of his other movies. There's only 3 of them so far, so this wasn't a hard ask for us. To start off, we're going to do the 20-second spoiler-free review, get first impressions, and then dive further into this something. So let's go, John. Let's start with you. 20 seconds.
Oh, I'm not ready. Oh, fine. I should be ready. I'm not ready, but that's okay.
TC 20 seconds.
I got it.
Okay.
No, I got it.
All right.
Come on. No, I can't. Not back it. Okay, here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. This was atmosphere and historical setting. Tons of that. Like, totally awesome. Really love some of the effects, some of the characters, some of the character interactions, some of the plot points missed. Sometimes I think because of the accents, I think people were trying really hard on that. And so some of the character interactions didn't hit, or some of the plot points didn't hit, but still a fantastic movie to see in the theater.
DC, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought there were some good performances. I thought the creature was scary. I was a little bit more scared in the beginning than I was towards the end. I thought it dragged on in the middle a little bit, so much so that I found myself snoozing a bit. Woke up, was like, oh shit,
no.
damn, what happened? But not too much time had passed, so not a big deal. But yeah.
Did you snore yourself
It was okay.
awake?
Might have. And what's funny is I had a bunch of Skittles. I had a bunch of Skittles too. You'd think I would have been jumping off the friggin' chair, but not so much.
Might have scared somebody by you too, because you do that sort of snort awake, you know? So it'd been like,
whoa, sorry, I didn't know. Where am I?
We had a guy fall asleep recently in a showing, and he was snoring in his seat, and somebody after like 10 minutes poked him, and he was just drunk. And instead of just like waking up and paying attention, he turned around and started talking to the person who poked him awake.
Man, all good, dude. It's pretty funny. All right, Denny, what do you think?
I've spent over a week thinking about this movie. I don't know what to make of it. It's got really good production value. It's got really great special effects. The camera work is really intentional. A lot of it seems really intentional, but it feels really cold. I feel like he's like, it's too simple of a story for him, or there's the fact that there is a story. It just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. We can talk about it.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. We all are mixed, sort of. Not real one way or the other. I didn't, dislike it. Like you said, John, tone poem as fuck. I mean, some of that dark, dreary.
It's beautiful. Like fucking, like as good as I've ever seen that done.
It looks like paintings. Right. You could frame a lot of this movie and it would look really cool.
I was like,
idea.
Yeah, the first two, like, that's why I took that picture to send you guys. I don't normally do that shit, but like when he's walking in the forest, it was so beautiful. It was like, fuck, this is good. I was like riveted for like the first 2/3 of the movie just because of the scenes, just because of just seeing how things were structured and how things looks was just fucking amazing. But yeah, that's certainly the highlight to me. It's like that the composition and the scenes. He just had usual shots of like, oh, these are mountains with some birds, but damn it, he did it so good. I don't know, what extent that's Eggers, the cinematographer, or just everything, the whole team. But man, it's as good as I've ever seen that sort of thing in terms of, and it helps to see it in the theater. And there's a lot of these older films I don't get to go see like that, but because this is the first I've seen of his films, and holy cow, it makes me want to see the other one.
No, in the theater.
In the theater.
In the theater. Okay.
Yeah, right. No, John,
I do think the theater
I
do think the theater would make a big difference, though. If like this would be tough to watch at home, because it's like if you had your lights on, so much of this is like dark.
Maybe
really, you're experiencing the darkness
the
as much as the character is.
Good type. The landscape shots in the Northman were similar to this, I thought. It just fit less well into the movie. This movie is really cohesive or coherent or something. Like the tone is really consistent.
Yeah.
But it's just like, do I enjoy that tone?
It's
so cold.
And does the story fit that tone at all times? But I don't know.
But I don't get it. I don't even understand the story parts, which we can get into.
Why? It's easy. This movie it's kind of It's too simple, right?
Maybe it's too simple.
There's no nuance at all in any of it.
So Denny, you can explain this to us then.
So young Lily Rose Depp beckons the devil when she's a young girl.
Right.
She wants to have sex with the devil.
Somehow she wakes him up, or she's lonely. Not sex.
I wasn't sure if that's
It's
what it
sex.
was. I couldn't tell if
It's
she
sex.
knew who
Was
she
it?
was talking to, if she wasn't, if she didn't know,
She
if it was part of a dream.
young, lonely, stupid, and curious, and she
So she
conjured
heard
the
her
devil.
like a nursery rhyme or something.
Right,
and Are we
okay.
just supposed
So
to
this
assume
is-
that that's what happened, and she made
yeah.
that?
I mean, that's what I
basically,
thought it
like
was
it doesn't
pretty clear.
matter, right? Because essentially, all that matters is she let this vampire in, and
Right.
that's
So
where the
this-
story starts.
this is
that's
all her
you
fault.
need to know. Don't worry
Yeah,
about
it is her fault.
Right. Yeah.
It's all her fault. Yeah.
It's all
She
her
brought
fault,
it on
and the only
herself.
way, and because of that, the only way it ends is for him to kill her, and she to kill him in the process, basically.
Right,
Like,
right.
He that's basically. I guess you maybe hit the nail on the head there.
If you
Denny.
give me 20 seconds, I could describe it from front to back. What
Let's
the
go.
entire
20
plot is.
seconds.
But-
Nobody else
all right.
talk.
Okay.
Let me
Yeah.
hear it.
Ready?
All
Go.
right. Young girl is horny, wants to fuck a devil, conjures the devil. The devil has a connection to her. She has a connection with the devil as she grows up. She meets a man. The man pushes the devil away because her desire goes towards the man a little bit. But then the man leaves on a journey to sign a paperwork for a house. When he's gone, the devil connection starts up again, and it happens to be that same guy, which strengthens the connection. He travels to the town where she is, and he threatens plague in the town unless she fucks him again. And she ends up doing that, but she tricks him, and he stays overnight, gets blasted in the sunlight. He dies, the plague ends. That's the movie.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
No,
probably longer than
I
30
think you're right.
seconds,
We
but-
can wrap that up. He's got it down pat.
I think you hit the nail on the head,
That's it.
Denny, when you say it's too simple. That's kind of the problem. It just doesn't feel like there's depth there.
So there's not
anything
much to
explore.
work with across
there's a lot-
the middle of it because
Right.
that's
Which
kind
made a
of
lot of the parts with Defoe and what's
The
his name?
friend,
The guy with the really,
yeah.
with
All-
the tall guy. All those
yeah.
parts were kind of pointless because I
Right.
was just like, they're
Exactly.
just trying to figure it
so
out.
like all
but,
they're
like,
doing
but-
is figuring it out. They're not really.
But-
there's nothing else
no,
to do for them. They're
but
not going to be
even
able to
them-
prevent it. They're not going
Right,
to be able
right.
to.
And even that, it's like
intervene,
clearly
nothing.
stated that it's a distraction. Like they're going to send the husband off to the castle. The whole point is to distract him and have it be useless. And she knows that. And
And I guess Willem Dafoe's research
Dafoe
does
does
lead
it.
him to reading the book. So it wasn't like pointless research, but like a lot of it was just spinning their wheels to kind
Yeah.
of show us that they're trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't fucking care about any of these characters because
Right.
all they do is stand around and talk about the plot, basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
communication between them like in a human level, which I sorely miss because I think The
Right.
Witch and The Lighthouse have a lot of that human connection parts, which are the best parts of the movie where it feels real within the horror. And this movie felt so staged.
Yeah.
Where they were just like standing around and just like saying what the
there's
plot
the
was,
moment where
basically.
like Defoe is speaking to Depp and saying that that others would call you a hero or a queen or whatever. That interaction should be really powerful, and it was clearly not. Like it was weird how not powerful, how not like meaningful that was.
Do you think
And
he
the
was
thing is,
off his game because it's been so
Well, I
long?
thi-
Or,
I think it's because he's basing it off an old silent movie. I think he was trying to like conjure some of that old like overacting stuff, like the scene where Defoe sets fire to like the crypt and he
Yeah.
kind of like poses for the camera.
Well, then
and
he
it's all
starts
framed nicely.
laughing for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't know why. Was this Orson Welles tearing your house apart sort of thing?
Dude, I don't know, man. There were some weird choices that just it just was weird, but it all looked awesome.
Oh,
like
did.
the production
Did.
was
Dude.
really good.
Yeah.
I was not bored at all. I certainly didn't dislike it. I'm going to watch it again because
Are you
mostly because
really?
I'm a huge Robert Eggers fan.
Well, I
Like,
think I'd be interested to hear
huge.
how you feel about it after watching it on TV versus the theater, and if it's a big
The second
difference.
time might
'Cause
be,
I mean, I guess for you, not so much maybe because you have all the sound and you'll turn your lights off like a normal
And you
person.
got a big
but
old TV.
For
Or
someone
you
like me
project it
or
in the
someone like
backyard.
John, where we would have the lights up, I think that's maybe where it'd be hard to watch this one if you weren't in the theater, if you're not like a super horror fan and you were expecting something more vampire-y, like, action oriented. But
and it wasn't really that scary.
it wasn't
either, I
that
didn't
scary.
think.
And
Yeah.
there was some jump scare stuff that got me. There was
Oh
some.
man, I didn't like that though because it was so cheap.
and
it came out of fucking nowhere.
The most important part was sort of like that feeling of emptiness, but like it didn't always land with what they were talking about. So I got kind of like sick of that. That feeling. It's like, okay, we're feeling uneasy, but we're not like moving toward anything, and it's not exactly
Yeah.
making me scared. It's making me a little uneasy, but not like to the point where I'm thinking to myself, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next. Like I was kind of hoping for when you think vampires and blood and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So
And usually when you have a movie with like child murders in the movie and they show the children's dead bodies, you're supposed to feel a little scared.
That's true.
But I all I could think was like, wow, they really weighted those bodies correctly. Those things felt like actual corpses. Good job,
Wow,
Eggers.
they
really
did a
put
great
the work
production value job there.
in.
Yeah.
They did. And I was like, good for them. That was great. I mean, even the scene where he apparently is supposed, I didn't get that he was fucking his dead wife's corpse and that he himself died of the plague while he was fucking her. That was supposed to happen according to the Wikipedia page.
I
didn't think that was that gross anyway. I was kind of just like,
that whole ending.
I don't care.
I mean,
This doesn't bother
It was
me.
kind of okay with the tension between.
I've seen this before.
Right, but it was kind of okay, the tension with the friend and the girl living there and them wondering whether she's crazy. All that was kind of okay, but then,
Not really, though, because like it just, instead of making you feel like there was an actual conflict between the two parties and their beliefs, it just said there was supposed to be a conflict, and that was
right.
it. I didn't actually, I wasn't on either of their side, because like you could make both sides empathetic to be like science and supernatural, sort of like you could actually have a connection with that as a viewer, but I felt like I was just being told this is what this person thinks and this is what that person thinks, and they're going to act accordingly based on what we just told you.
That's fair. That's fair. It was just very simple and direct, and yeah, that I didn't know he was supposed to be having sex with her, other than that the way her leg was draped over the coffin. I was like, did he?
That's what the Wikipedia page says. So I don't know if like you can take, because I mean, I guess I couldn't necessarily say that wasn't what he was doing. He was between her legs. Could have been.
Could have been giving her
I didn't think that when I watched it.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But why?
Like
that
the
whole
plague,
thing,
you can't be walking
means
around
nothing.
1 minute and then dead the next minute, right? That's not how the plague works. I don't think.
Right.
Doesn't
Well,
it take a while? You have to be laying down flat for a while.
This is vampire plague. This is super plague.
Oh, it is super plague. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just regular plague.
No, it seemed like regular plague to me.
I thought it was like it's like they called it the plague, but it was vampire super plague.
Oh, right. Like, okay, the people thought it was the plague, but it's way worse because the vampire is the one in charge of it. I guess. I mean, all right. I guess I'll buy that.
No, again, the shots
the rats
of
were in the vampire boat, so I mean, could have been charged up with some kind of super plague.
Amazing shots of going through the same the same city streets that are now plague ridden. Amazing, like again, setting up the atmosphere and showing you the setting. Fucking amazing. But you're right, all the people and all the interactions. There was some of the scary. It was almost scary to me when he was in the castle just meeting the vampire at first. I thought that
best
was
part of the movie.
Yeah,
I thought that
was very
uneasy.
I didn't know where it was
to
going
the
to
beginning.
go.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah, and
I was looking
especially
forward to it
moves
then.
during that. There were
time-
shots where he like moves behind the camera, and then like you see, and then the camera pans just a little bit, and he's already over here, and like he's kind of teleporting behind the camera. And the camera does weird moves where it like pans down into darkness underneath the table, and then it continues panning from the ceiling to something else. Like there's a lot of slow camera transitions, and like that whole part just seemed dreamlike and uneasy and everything. That plus like the storyline of him saying, I'm having weird dreams, and then he's just like waking up randomly. It was just kind of freaky because like you didn't know what was going on.
That's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. Is you didn't know what was going on yet, so you hadn't really identified where this was headed as far as like who's the main character, who are we supposed to be watching? Is it him? Is it her? So there was like they lost that at some point. Then you figured out where it was going, and it stopped
as soon as everyone's back in the city,
being creepy and scary because you're like, oh, I kind of see where it's headed now. It's like she has to make up for the fact that she did this, and she's not going to be able to. And now they're going to go into like a fight section where we're going to have to like, figure out and save people. And sure enough, there it was. And then the plague happened, and you're like, we know exactly where this is leading.
Here's the problem.
Right?
We need a MacGuffin. Let's just watch the movie until the MacGuffin happens, and here's a book that tells them how to end it. Look at that. That's great. Let's just do that.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think when they had the element of surprise about where the story was headed, it was creepy. And as soon as they lost that, it stopped being scary like I expected. I expected it to get like progressively worse linearly, and it didn't do that. It's kind of like it was like a middle, sort of climax for scariness that waned by the end of the movie, and it became more of like a weird love story / slasher film / I don't know, werewolfy,
but without the depth.
Exactly.
If there was some kind of deeper meaning or even feeling amongst the characters, then maybe this would have been pulled off more. But because of that shallowness, it just gets kind of boring. It's weird, but it's really weird to see like all kids being murdered and the plague infested
corpse
streets, corpse sex, and you're kind of bored. weird.
Yeah,
like
you
how
have rats
fucked up are
eating
we?
someone's
We're like we're
bare
watching this
chest.
stuff, and we're like, this isn't
Yawn.
really, yeah, right.
Right. I mean,
You have another
it's
skittle
not
and
like,
pass
it's
out.
not like,
I'm
yeah,
good.
right. I mean, you got the weirdness with T-Tain, but there's a real emotion and I guess I don't know what the word is. There's a real sense of passion and action to it that's in there, and so it's weird and freaky, and all the while you're like, or the substance.
Do you think it's just because there was so much talking? Like there was a lot of
No.
dialogue in the middle
It was because
parts.
there's no, I don't know if it's because we're spoiled because we watch like really good movies, but there's no like secondary meaning to this movie. There's literally no depth. It is just the story, right?
but
It's
there
not like
doesn't
an
have to be-
allegory for something else.
but you don't
Nobody
really-
has any
There's no
like, no one has-
symbolism that's involved
right.
with like
and
how,
no one has any
yeah.
feelings that are outside of the plot of the movie.
It's-
Like nobody has
right.
anything else going on except for the plot.
And there's
Like,
really no like
realism in that.
morals that it's tugging at, you know.
but it's
like,
not
yeah.
just it's not just second meaning. Like we did Fellowship of the Rings, which we'll publish later, and we talked about that. It's not necessarily that you need an allegory or a second meaning. It's just you have to have a feeling that this is real, that there's a depth to this, or the characters even, and that just is
Even in the fantasy world.
Like you hit on it again, Denny, where you're saying like, and I don't know, as you both were talking, it's like these people exist just for the plot of this movie. They they say their next lines just to advance the plot of the movie. It's like it feels really clear that this is what is happening. Yeah, that they don't have any existence outside of the events that are happening and the next thing they need to do to make the next event happen.
Right. And that's the hard part of like really good scripts or really well put together movies with improv is to kind of put that little humanity in there and not bloat it with just random useless shit. But like it's a balance, right? Like having plot stuff and humanity together working. And this one doesn't try for the humanity part.
Well,
at all.
and let's
it just
be
like
honest,
throws it out the window.
The decisions she had to make, she made as a kid. So like every decision after that, almost kind of pointless. Like it's not like we're watching her be like, "Ooh, I have to do something like this," or something else is going to happen that's bad. Like she doesn't really like the other guy. Anyways, she loves him, but like it's obviously not too important to her, right? And like the werewolf, that's kind of looks like the vampire. The vampire doesn't really have anything, like, because he has one thing on his mind, and you're like, okay, get it. He wants to go get the person he put a spell on once. Cool, but that doesn't like. There's no like decision making that needs to take place, right? Like we know what's happening. He's coming for her. That's all he's gonna do. She's gonna like try to protect this husband, but he's almost irrelevant to the story other than buying a home.
Yeah,
and then like you move through the next parts and you get the new detective and shit, and you're like, I don't care about this.
And it's not like she's sympathetic at all. She like doesn't even have a choice in the first part. Right. He's going to do this paperwork thing. She's like, I think you're going to die, and like I see death or whatever. You shouldn't do this. And she tries her best, but nothing happens. Like none of her concerns matter. So she doesn't even have a chance to participate in where the story goes. And nobody does, right? It seems like everyone's just on it for the ride. They're just like, I'm doing the thing this guy told me to do, so I'm going to do it. And then this is going to happen.
No,
because
don't
this is
worry
what
that
I'm
it
doing.
doesn't make any sense. Don't worry that it's too far away. And don't worry about the fact that for some reason these people are traveling to distant lands by themselves. All we have to know is that there's a vampire and he's coming. Okay? That's it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But even that, like, because I think like the witch, the plot in some ways doesn't necessarily make sense, but you have the feeling that you're with the witch. Well, what the witch does really well, I would say, is you feel like you're part of their lives. You're just watching them live their lives. You're not there watching this family to meet the witch.
It gives you an event, and then it unfolds afterwards.
Right.
That's it. That whole movie is like they get kicked out of town, and this is what happens afterwards. That's the whole thing.
Right. It doesn't feel like the whole thing is like set around. Oh, they're going to meet a witch, and here's the
they
witch
never
is
talk
coming.
about the witch. And they're like, oh, we got to get the witch, guys. We got to go ahead and I'm going to stab the witch when I see it with a stick. That's what I'm going to do.
You know that looks like a broomstick. You know who I think has broomsticks? It's the witch.
That's right.
Yeah, like that's kind of what happens in this.
Right.
movie.
I'm going to go read some books, see if I can figure out how to defeat this
But you
witch.
also feel like these are real people that have these real lives that these events happen to. Like and
that movie has problems beyond the witch, right? It's like starvation and just living in the woods is like one problem, and then the witch elevates the problem, and then like there's other issues with like the marriage falling apart and the kids being kind of sexually attracted to each other, and like there's a whole bunch of other shit that is going on in that movie.
All of it too is much more show don't tell. with that too. It's not like the kid's going, I'm sexually attracted to you, sister.
Right.
Oh, that's bad, younger brother. You should know. You just see them give looks to each other and things like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's very different too in the way it like.
No. Just sign this document. Don't read it. You'll be fine. It's just for the house, I promise. Like, what? That kind of annoyed me.
Why would he
a
sign
little
that?
bit. Yeah. You're looking at this piece of paper that looks obviously not like your typical contract, and you're like, "Oh, well, I guess there's a perfect box."
That's
I should
great.
put
Oh,
my
what?
name
Signed
on
in blood?
it.
Okay.
I know. Oh, do I have to prick my finger? That makes total
But TC,
sense. Yeah.
he said he was tired, TC. So he was tired. That's why he did it, because he
I
wasn't,
see.
he wasn't
I
himself.
see.
Yeah, myself. He said sign in blood. You know, it's been a long day. I had a lot to drink.
Seems right to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I stayed up playing with some ghost gypsies last night.
Yeah.
I'm real exhausted.
That's
Yeah.
right. I don't know, man. There was some.
Again, I like that taken out of context. Even then, like setting up that scene, having all the people dancing, and he comes into the village. Really cool.
I love that point of view when he's walking in and everyone's looking at the camera and they're all doing weird shit. And you're like, is that person who we're going to talk to? Nope. Is this dancing guy going to be the main guy? Nope. And it keeps going by all these like weird individuals. And then you talk to one shopkeep and then he gets led to a room by an old lady. And it's just like none of these people are even in the movie anymore. Like all of these people could have been characters and they weren't. So that's kind of cool.
Yep.
But I mean,
good scene.
as soon as he gets picked up, as soon as he washes onto the river, I felt like the movie slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah. Yep. Seems about right.
Once they're walking around the town in the buildings and stuff, talking about like, oh, she's still having the nightmares, guys. It's been 45 minutes and she's still having the nightmares. We got to keep talking about it until we figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, they need
Someone's
to have
really
Willem
good,
Dafoe do something. So they paid the money, right?
Yeah, right. He's got to have a role. Weird.
And the thing
Just
is,
weird.
the reason I'm questioning by how much I like this movie is because I wasn't expecting this. And I think that maybe over rewatching it, this was intentional, I think. The way it's done felt intentional, right? Or at least he was going for something extreme and didn't hit it exactly, but maybe he did. Maybe this is what he wanted exactly. Maybe he wanted to mimic like old movies with blocking and, you know,
and
I don't know.
non like the way old movies were, a lot of tell don't show or whatever. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
Okay,
Maybe.
good for you, man. You made a film that's not enjoyable.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I mean,
I enjoyed it though.
Well,
I
still
thoroughly watching.
I mean,
it for sure.
the look, the atmosphere, the settings, the atmosphere, fucking amazing. I mean, again, as good as anything that tries to do something like this. But still, it's like it could have been so much better if there was depth and we didn't just feel like it just didn't feel so shallow. And so not poorly acted, but just poorly put together as far as written.
Are you
acted,
sure
everything.
about that, John?
Right.
I thought some of
Right.
them had good performances, but there were
Maybe
I don't know. They just stood there and said the lines and said it really intensely every time.
Yeah.
Nobody moved around when they said lines. There was like the one scene where Lily Rose Depp was possessed and started moving around on the table.
Yeah.
That was good, but I'm not even sure that was her. Right?
Oh.
Like some of the
Wow.
stuff like the I don't know, contortion stuff where her back bent and stuff like that. I was just like, that can't be her, right? Or
Oh,
maybe
I
they
don't know.
hired her because she can do this stuff.
Yeah.
That's a
The
good
shaking.
question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it seemed out of place because everyone was so stiff the rest of the time.
I don't know. I remember thinking like they did their best, but they're
They tried.
You know,
Is that what you're saying?
the old
participation
stories
trophies?
sometimes don't always translate so well too. I mean, I felt like some of it felt like a Shakespearean play when they were walking
Maybe.
through and speaking slowly with lots of dialogue, and it's all like old words, and it like requires you to like piece together what they're saying while you're watching it. It requires a lot of active.
But
like,
they weren't saying
watching.
anything interesting.
No, they
other
weren't. But
than
the
what
point
was
is, you're
happening.
trying to make it
I know.
between the two different things. So maybe I got the perception of them having like that's a lot of lines to memorize, and like that was like something that I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. That took them a while to
These
get
guys
through.
can do a bare minimum of what their job entails.
So maybe I'm
Well,
just
well.
losing my threshold for what is good these days.
And they've got the accents. They got to put together the accents and have all those
And
lines.
the rolling
So
R's. I mean,
maybe
you get a
it's
lot
hard
of
to
rolling
emote.
R's. I don't know why.
Ow.
Yeah.
That hurt my throat.
I don't know why they're doing
Oh
that.
no! You've injured another rolling R injury.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in Hollywood.
It got me. It was the depot.
It does.
dude.
Hey, call the
they have
union. Call your
yeah,
rep.
they've got a whole ER wing for that.
It's called the Skarsgård wing. He trained for months with the opera coach to get his voice to go that deep. That was really his voice.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I was in the Dolby Cinema in AMC, and I don't know. AMC is fine. The Dolby Cinema has pretty good sound, and the bass on his voice shook my seat. So that was pretty good. I don't know if you guys were in like a good enough cinema.
I did. I saw it in IMAX, so it was pretty good.
Did it not? It didn't shake?
It probably did.
No, I didn't have the butt rumbler.
Probably did. I don't know.
Did he like also shove a rubber donut down his throat so he couldn't breathe the whole time so that we got to hear which got a little annoying after a while. Just like, come on, Grandpa. You got to go clear your nose or something.
How old is he now?
Skarsgård?
Yeah.
He's got to be like 45.
He's not too.
He's all right.
Oh, he's 34. Holy shit.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
He looks way older. I saw him in like an interview on TV too. He looks old as shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he went and worked with for 2 weeks with the opera coach. How many weeks with the opera coach?
I heard months.
Months? Okay, so months with the opera coach, and then another month with somebody with chronic incurable asthma. So he could get that down.
Oh. Okay.
This is John's bullshit trivia corner. Does anyone touch each other in this movie? The only time I can think, the rats touch the woman when they're biting her chest, and then what's his name fucks his dead wife, and that's about it. Everyone else stays at about arm's distance.
Well, and at the end scene, they're he's on top of her.
Oh, when the vampire fucks Lily Rose Depp, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of it is that I think it might be intentionally cold. I think part of what the movie's, and I'm giving him a lot of credit because I'm a fan, but like
sort of thing where it's like this idea is like it's
instead of being shallow, it could be considered cold.
Well, they don't even show when you say like the vampires. Like the whole point is that instead of sex, it's the bite that sort of like is taking the place of the sex, sort of. So like you're not even explicitly talking about that act.
Well, he does mention, didn't she say like, I feel you inside me, like I have snakes in me or something? That's pretty sexual.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that's part of the sort of the Victorian kind of thing where you'd be talking about these things or alluding to these things, but not necessarily showing the actual thing or I don't know. I don't even
know what you're talking about. She also like taunts. One of the things that confused me the most, and I saw this with a couple people, and walking out of the theater, we all thought different things during this scene. There was a scene right before Nicholas Hoult has sex with Lily Rose Depp, and she kind of taunts him a little bit beforehand. Like they're talking about their sexual relationship, and the camera's like going right to left, and she walks up to the window following the camera. The camera stops, and she stops, and then she turns and looks the other way, and the camera starts going back. And right when that happens, she starts talking like a lower voice and starts to be kind of mean to him. And I thought she was like possessed by the vampire, and the vampire was like getting her to say things to the Nick Hoult character to get a rise out of him or something like that. And it ends up like she ends up saying the vampire is a better fuck than he is or something to that extent. And that really pisses him off. And then they end up having sex. Did you get the idea that she was at all possessed by the vampire at any point?
I didn't think she was. No. I thought that it's more like there's this darker side to her that sort of that's also part of what might have called and embraced this guy and the demon in the first place. And so she has like an evilness to her that can come out. That's sort of the way I put it. I didn't really think it was necessarily the vampire having control over her, but I thought that there was just
she just has a part inside of herself that she can't control herself.
Yeah. Or
even though most of the movie she's terrified of the vampire coming, but then like 10% of the time she's like, yeah, fucking vampire dick. Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Or she indulges in it. Like it's not even just about, it's just like, it's something that is attractive to her, I guess. I don't know. Or she's also
like bloody dick.
She's mad at him. She's mad at him and wanted to piss him off. But that's not
why he's trying his best.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So you're floating this idea that Eggers was this is like he's making a movie that if we were to understand his vision, we'd be like, oh, I get it, sort of thing, right?
And I say that just because I think The Witch and The Lighthouse are two of the best, weirdest movies of the past 15 years. And The Northman was his first and only major studio production where he lost control and he blames the control and some of the inconsistencies in that movie on the studio. And he goes through details in that commentary track on why that happened. And it makes a lot of sense. Doesn't sound like he's making it up.
Okay.
In this one, he has full control again. With $50 million, The style is really consistent. This like everything is well planned out. He's been working on this movie since he was a teenager, and it's been in production for 9 years.
Holy shit.
So he's really thought this out, and I think he might have overcooked it.
I was
Part
going
of
to
it is
say,
he might have.
that's the phrase. I was just trying to think of what to call it. Overcooked might be really good. Yeah,
He
maybe
just
he's
like
got-
got it to his own self and overthought everything and then couldn't figure it out after, maybe, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Because at least I think it viewing it, I could tell that it was storyboarded. And everything that was storyboarded was in the movie, it seemed. It didn't seem like there was any wiggle room for editing because all of the camera movements transitioned into other camera movements, right? That was one of the coolest parts of the movie is like every scene would like, it had a slow camera move and then it would transition to another area. And it just felt like you were kind of floating around this world. You know, there wasn't like a hard cut to be seen.
And again, in the
that probably
beginning,
limited the amount they could edit out, which probably led to a lot of scenes that should have been edited out. Because this movie was over 2 hours long. Like, cut a half an hour out of the middle, make this movie fly by, and maybe it's awesome. But you can't do that because then you'd fuck up all the sweet edits you've been working on for 10 years.
Right.
maybe so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just a guess too.
That could be it. That might be the
All the
sense of it.
above.
Like he loved.
He
all,
fell
and
in love with the way
he's
it
in love with
was
all of it.
outside of the characters and the plot. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Right. He like focused. It felt like he was focusing too much on the cinematography and how awesome everything looked and how he wanted to show everything and
And he
all the
nailed
cool
that.
camera work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was nobody
that's what it
around.
kinda felt
and,
like.
and again, yeah, maybe he wanted no outside influence, but maybe again, this is one of those cases where it'd have been nice if somebody was there to temper it, and say, yeah, but you're still going to make a good movie here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at the same time,
It's
there
like-
are movies like Barry Lyndon, which were really good to look at. You know, Stanley Kubrick, everyone considers that like one of his best movies. I felt like this was a lot like that, a lot darker. You know,
Oh, yeah.
instead of having
Right,
like
sure.
colorful oil paintings, you have like gothic oil paintings or whatever the fuck. But it's the same kind of thing. Super slow, really stiff characters, unrelatable characters. Any of the plot stuff that happens, it's said very plainly out in the open. I mean,
fair.
you could compare him to Kubrick in that way, I guess. Like now he has full control. Now he's self-indulgent. It's going slower. You know, it's
It's the way he wants it.
Well,
It's
you got
the way
this.
it's
You
gonna
got
happen.
It
this
brings
out of
us
the way,
back to
though.
the point, Denny, of like maybe we got to be careful because he does like that's exactly what he wanted, and we're like, you fucking suck, guy, you know. And he's all like, well, but it's my best work.
yeah.
Nah, he might.
And it's the most accessible because it actually has a plot. And I feel like that, like without his other movies don't really have a plot. The Northman kind of does a little bit, but it's really just a revenge story. But this one has like front to back. You could call it a plot.
and a sort
Because
of
it's already been written.
slightly well-known one. Although I mean, this goes in different directions, but at least people also a plot that a lot of people can recognize most of the parts of. Okay, it's a vampire, you know, and where it goes.
I love the hand over the city. That was freaking awesome.
That
Like,
was awesome. I know. I love that. That was really cool. And I know that in the old Nosferatu movie, there was a lot that was made with the shadow of the hand, right? So I liked how he took that and made it something really cool. So yeah, definitely was neat when that was another. Again, lots of neat. Again, the imagery, the compositions, the camera work, fucking amazing. So it's still really good, and maybe in a way it'd be fun. It might be good to watch it again, and then sit back and not worrying, not like getting excited about where the movie is going and then getting disappointed. So instead, you get to just sit there and just enjoy the atmosphere and enjoy like the camera work and so on. So it might actually be a good second watch because you're not like getting.
That's what
like,
I'm hoping
build up,
for.
you know? Yeah.
Because there is a lot of scenes that I want to watch again, like the Phantom Carriage scene where he's walking through the woods and
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was
right.
great.
there's like the cross street and the horse like charges him and he
Right.
covers himself and looks to the right and it's there and the door opens like without any sound.
Yep.
And the snow is falling. Like that shit was cool as hell and
Oh,
it
yeah.
looked
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. There's
Yeah,
just a lot of scenes
I want like a big
individually
poster of
I like
that
to watch.
forest scene where he's there at the crossroads. Just the lighting and the way that's like, I don't know. It's such a beautiful scene, and it's like, I don't know, the way it's done. It's like I don't know how many films you'll see where somebody's in the woods and they're at a crossroads, but this is the best
That's
one.
true.
It's the best one. It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
It's very pleasing to the eye. There's the scene too where I think it's Lily Rose Depp is coming out of the house and her arms are like up above her head and it has this super wide shot of this entire house in her yard and she's like in the moonlight in the front of the house. That was pretty like there's a lot of really awesome shots in this movie that look like if Wes Anderson like did a horror movie or something like that. Super symmetrical, really well thought out framing, and like a lot to look at in a still image, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Very mixed on this one. I think I did like it.
Oh,
I'm not sure I loved it.
I'm really glad. I'm glad I saw it for sure. And I would, if people like the way if they like atmosphere and the way things look, then I'd hardly recommend it. But it's also like good to sort of caution them, saying if you want a really good horror story, you might be a bit disappointed here. If that's kind of what you're going for.
And it's not even really a love story. What is the story? It's like a weird fantasy story that is not even that.
Where nobody wins.
Yeah. It doesn't work very well. Yeah. It doesn't. It just either, like you said, I think, I didn't put it this way, but I think you're right. It's too simple. It's just, in the end, it's just too simple.
And a simple movie that takes 2 hours and 15 minutes to tell, that's too long for a simple movie.
Right.
Should be an hour and a half, maybe an hour 45. And you'd just be able to delete all the scenes that were in the same rooms over and over again. Maybe get rid of some of the, necrophilia stuff that was unnecessary.
You could have gotten rid of what if you could
keep the child murder scene in there. That was top notch.
Yeah,
10 out of 10 eggers. That was real. The weight in those potato sacks, couldn't tell the difference.
Probably, I'm sure they researched that.
They probably did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, top 250.
Well, I got some trivia.
Oh,
Very short amount.
I was ready to go. I was wrapping up.
You're all excited. All right.
So this movie was initially put into production in 2015.
Okay.
And the two lead actors that were attached to it for years were Harry Styles instead of Nick Holt, and Anya Taylor-Joy instead of Lily Rose Depp.
Wow. That would have been a whole different movie.
Years. Yes. And actually, Harry Styles dropped out first because this movie was like in pre-production limbo for a while. And then Harry Styles dropped out first. Shortly afterwards, Anya Taylor-Joy dropped out for Furiosa. So she was in that because she couldn't be in this one. But then they recast Nick Holt and Lily Rose Depp. Apparently, the audition tape from Lily made Robert Eggers cry because she was so good.
Wow.
She apparently did that. It's like a Japanese buto, Butoh, is a kind of dance that she learned how to do. And it's that weird, like, spastic shaking she does a couple times in this movie.
Okay.
So she did something like that during the audition and got cast basically immediately, sounds like.
Wow.
Took 6 hours for Skarsgård to get into that makeup every day.
Wow.
Yeah, he was worried that all the shit on his face would prevent him from being a good actor, but it didn't, he said. No good stories there, but hey, he worked with a vocal coach.
I was worried about that,
right?
that I wouldn't be able to just excel at my craft.
Turns
like
out
I
it
usually
wasn't a problem.
Yeah, but it's all right. And I had to suffer for 6 hours every day, and I still did this and still did a good job.
They didn't even put my face on the goddamn camera. All you see is my stupid hunched shoulders every single time.
I know.
But yeah, that scene in the beginning when he was like eating dinner with the Count and the camera turns and the freaking the statue of the armor turns its head. That was like one of two moments that legitimately creeped me out in the movie. And then the other one was this weird random scene where it was like, it was the blonde friend who ends up dying from the plague. She's walking down like the corridor of her house at night and the camera is backing up. She's walking towards it and the camera's going backwards. And then she hears a noise to the right and the camera slowly pans to the right. And it's a staircase. And then it slowly pans back. And then Lily Rose Depp is right behind her. That whole scene, I was like really fucking scared that something was going to pop out.
Yeah, right. That makes
and it didn't, which was even better.
Yeah.
Because then the tension stayed high. There was like no like jump scare release.
Right.
That kept me going for a couple minutes afterwards. But
couple minutes.
That was good too.
A couple minutes. Yeah.
Which is good, I guess.
So 4 minutes of this 2 hour, 12-minute movie, whatever. I was a little nervous, you know. It's not nothing.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
That's true.
Yeah. What else is there? I thought the special effects when he starts bleeding from the face when the sun comes up.
Oh yeah,
that looked really fucking
scary
good.
And gross. For
like,
sure.
I was expecting that kind of special. Like, I don't know how much of that CG anymore. Special effects are so good these days, where I don't know if any of that was CG or if all of it was CG.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because there were some things in this movie that you could tell were CG, but they still looked pretty good. But like that was just like, I don't know if that's a puppet or not.
Yeah.
It's either the best
Either
CG
way,
I've
it
ever
worked
seen, or it's
great.
the best puppet I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Pretty good. That's the last positive thing I got to say on it, guys.
All right.
We can, if we have no good picks for next Halloween, we could do a little rewatch, see how we're feeling.
What?
Watch the old one.
What do you mean? What? Watch this one. You already said you might be up to watching it again.
A second. That would be a first for us. A second.
It would be.
A second viewing a year later.
Does
Man,
it
that's when
deserve
we've
it?
really
Probably not.
we've really given up on trying to find new
That's
ones.
right. That's
And
what
we're
you just
rewatching an old one.
said. Oh, dear.
We ran out of the 250, so we're rewatching.
We tried to make our own
the
list.
Rock,
It
guys.
wasn't
Sean Connery,
possible,
Nicolas
so we
Cage.
rewatched the same ones again and to see if we felt differently.
Yeah.
This so the original Nosferatu got Robert Eggers into movie making when he was in high school. His mother got a VHS tape of it. He became obsessed with it. When he was in high school, he was in theater, and he came up with the idea of doing a kind of a theater performance of Nosferatu, which means people in sets dressed up as black and white, and the entire thing being silent.
Oh,
so he
cool.
wrote a stage play to kind of mimic those two old timey things. So it looked like a silent black and white movie, but it was a stage play. And they did it, and it was really successful, and he had a really good time doing it. And that's when he figured out he wanted to become a movie director.
Oh,
wow.
And that kind of set him on the path.
I mean,
So he's
I guess
been
it's
thinking
better
about
than
doing this.
Murderer. Typically, I don't know if your kid
Get a
was
pick.
showing up and being like, "Mom, I love this movie." You're like, "Why? Why do you love this movie? Let's look into this. Let's talk about this."
I don't know, TC. I'm going to be encouraging it. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and at least they took the outlet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
At least it's a front. You never suspect the guy who shows movies about murdering people. He's not going to be a murderer.
yeah, he just wants to shoot the murder. Anyway, that's I don't know.
And a lot of these places were real. So there was some good behind the scenes stuff. All of the outside, not all of it, but most of the outside, kind of, I don't know, corridor of the castle type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Village corridors with the cobblestones and then the houses and stuff. That was just a
those are real?
2-story set. So those are 2-story sets with a blue screen on top, and they would digitally add sky. But they did go to a few locations in both Romania and the Czech Republic in Prague to shoot some of the street scenes there. That big house they had shown is a real place in the Czech Republic. 2 of the castles are real castles. The Count Orlok's castle is in Romania, just a real place. So they went to some real places, and then they built real sets otherwise. So there was no green screen in any of it.
Wow.
Which is pretty sweet because these days,
Yeah.
it's green screen everything. And they also filmed it on film, 35 millimeter, filmed on film.
Pretty cool.
Also very rare these days.
Yep.
Yeah. So $50 million, second biggest budget he's had. The Northman was 70 and bombed and made $60 million in the box office.
Wow.
This movie, $50 million, still in theaters. Was number 4 last weekend? Is at $137 million.
He's
He's going to make money.
He is.
Yeah, he's going to make a 5th movie.
Wow.
It's going to be another one.
Good for him.
I had
man.
a feeling if this one bombed, he would have been toast.
He might have been.
Because this is supposed to be his second movie. He's been talking about this forever. If he made this one and didn't make money,
Things would be
See you later.
go south. Yeah.
yeah. Back to the $5 million witch budget for A24, Robert, that could be good too.
I mean,
maybe next time.
It'd be good to be a little constrained.
Yeah.
That's all I got. So the 250 question there.
Top 250. I would say no.
I'm going to go no.
I'll probably go no too, but still.
Sorry, Eggers.
Sorry.
It's
if you
all
were
right.
if you were to judge movies by how useful it would be to take the entire film reel, print out in large format paintings or just posters of the frames and then put them places and see which one had the most interesting variety or whatever, this movie might be up there. But that's not how we usually judge movies.
No, interestingly enough.
No. Maybe we should reconsider how we do things.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that. This is a film that does one or two things exceptionally well. Or as good as anybody, or as any other film we've seen. So that's why it makes me hesitate a little bit. But if you did these one or two things.
But it's also not new, though.
No,
right?
that's true.
Nothing in here is new.
No, that's true.
It's not pushing the medium. It's just really good camera work that's already been done and really good
that's fair.
cinematography
That's fair.
also been done in the way that it's done.
Yeah.
So it's hard to even say that it's whoa, I've never seen anything like this before.
No,
it's
but
more just
it's more
consistently some of the best
this is,
I've seen
this
this
is as
100
good
times
as
of.
I've seen, I will say,
Right.
though, right? But yeah. But you're right. It's not also
Unlike The
new.
Substance, speaking of horror movies that have the shit you haven't seen in it, the last half an hour of that movie, never seen anything like that before.
That's right.
100%. And the entire plot of the movie by itself also, never ever seen anything like that.
There you go.
So, something to be said about that.
Yep. It's not nothing. That's where we end with this one.
Nothing.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So next week, guys, we're doing it. We're doing Lord of the Rings. We're doing Fellowship first. We're doing Two Towers. So we got to do Lord of the Rings. Well, I don't know, actually. We're all fucked up now. Are there even... When do the Oscar nominations come out?
No, they should be out.
We might want to delay it because all these movies with the pandemic, none of the movies are available now. The Brutalist apparently is going to win Best Picture.
Oh, really?
I've never seen it advertised, and it's not available anywhere. It wasn't even in theaters. How the fuck am I supposed to watch it?
Conclave's gotten a lot of buzz lately. I think it's going to... Yeah. And I saw that and would recommend it.
Ooh. We could either, as always, we don't know what we're doing. Go to the website to What's Up Next.
We'll
check
figure
out
it
what's
out.
going on there. It's either going to be Oscar movies, which could be one of 10 to 15 to 20 movies, or we're going to do Lord of the Rings. So
probably the Oscar
there
ones.
you go.
Probably the Oscar right.
ones.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll get you next
there.
week. And we're back in action. So.
Yeah, 2025, guys. It's going to be a good one. Just keep the news off. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and watch
Don't
some
breathe the air,
movies.
TC. Don't breathe the air down there, man. You'll be
actually,
fine.
the air's okay now. Things are in the clear. Yeah, we're in good shape. They're going to be.
How's the fires? I heard they're still raging.
Yeah, they're not really raging. They're
kind of simmering.
They're simmering. They're containing them. The wind's died down. We're probably going to be okay from now on in LA from here on out.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
That shit was intense for a while there.
It's still a possibility that it gets worse, but the winds are over, and they're probably not going to come back for a little week or so at the very least. So if that's hopefully enough time for them to figure it out. So
it's still so weird to me moving to the West Coast that wind is the most destructive weather. It's so weird.
I mean, it kind of is in the hurricanes too, right? I mean, I know the water is part of it, but the wind is what blows everything up.
It's true.
Anyways, this has been Meteorology with the podcast triplets.
We just want to make sure you're okay, TC. There's nothing wrong with that.
We're good. We're good. We'll see you later, boys.
All right.
See you guys next week.
Guys.
Bye.